Welcome back to another edition of the Hilltop Buckets podcast. I'm co-host Colton Beebe, joined with my other co-host Hayden Fowler. How are we doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Doing great as well. It's Saturday, February 16th, and it is the All-Star weekend right now. Pretty exciting weekend for the NBA, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. It's where the stars are made.
Absolutely, I agree. I just think it's a great weekend for the NBA because you get just a diverse amount of people that come and watch this weekend. Just get to see 24 of the best basketball players on the planet, plain and simple. It's just a great thing to witness for those who don't get to watch a lot of the NBA throughout the year.
Fair enough. It kind of, in the All-Star break, you can kind of take a step back and see where all the teams are at for the remainder, 30-some games?
25 for most teams,
games.
yeah, agreed. And that is exactly what we're going to do today on the podcast. We're going to dive right in with just some questions throughout the day. We're just going to have basically a recap of the first 2/3 of the season so far up to this date and jump right into that. So the first question that we have today is, sitting at the All-Star break, which is, like I said, 2/3 through the season, who is the one team that's impressed you the most, Hayden, and the team that's disappointed you the most? We'll both give our takes for this.
All right. My number one team that I think's been a real surprise of how good they've been is the New York Nets.
Brooklyn Nets, of course.
Brooklyn Nets.
They are
of course.
in New York, though.
They're the same place.
We get the idea.
All right. But D'Angelo All-Star Russell.
Yes.
Used to be D'Angelo Snitch Russell.
It did.
Now it's All-Star Russell.
It is. He's been balling.
Yeah. He's been playing good with the young core, even with Spencer Dinwiddie and Caris LeVert. Both were out throughout periods of time in the regular season with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
LeVert's back. I think Dinwiddie is still out.
Yep. He is.
And I don't know. They've just been balling real good.
In the playoff race, too, right? What do they say? I think they're sitting like 6th right now.
Yeah,
7th,
they're in there. They're in the hunt.
Right where they need to be, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They've definitely been impressive. My most impressive team thus far this season has been the Milwaukee Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And they sit in the best record in the NBA right now at 43-14, which obviously leads the East then. But in my eyes, Giannis has defined himself as the clear best player in the Eastern Conference right now.
Oh, yes.
He's giving you 27, 13, and 6 on about 58% shooting from the field, and he's one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA. Like, having that asset on your team right there alone makes you a contender in the East, especially, though, the fact that you incorporate that they got Mike Budenholzer this year, first-year head coach, who I love. I believe when Mike Budenholzer, who previously coached in Atlanta, I believe he was always taking the Hawks farther than they should have been going in the playoffs. Like, remember those teams in the Hawks that would be 60-win teams, and you'd be like, well, who do they even have? And they had Mike Budenholzer coaching the team. He's a great coach, and he's known for offensive versatility, which in his offensive system fits Giannis to an absolute T, which is why I believe he's playing the way he is. They've had the second most efficient offense in the entire league, 6th highest scoring team in the NBA, and they've been the most efficient defense in the NBA too, which has been special. Another quick shout-out I want to give to is Chris Middleton, who made the All-Star game this year, first-time All-Star for Milwaukee. He's been a great second star next to Giannis this year. And also the Bucks have done a great job of acquiring role players that know their role and accept their role and are willing to thrive in that role. Guys like Brook Lopez and, Eric Bledsoe, guys like that.
I'm surprised Bledsoe is honestly still in Milwaukee.
I am too, especially because they have Brogdon, who's been special in his first couple of years.
Yeah.
Rookie of the year. Who's been your most disappointing team so far this season?
All right, I got the T-Wolves. I mean, the season really did not start that good with the whole Jimmy Butler incident.
Agreed.
Basically just rubbing his nutsack on them in practice. And,
Agreed. Wasn't a clean situation. Wasn't a clean transaction.
And I don't know if Cat's going to be looking to stay, and then they fired
Thibodeau.
Yeah,
Tom.
Thibodeau.
And then hired what's his name's son? Flip Saunders' son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some young coach.
Yeah.
I doubt he even stays either. I don't know, and they're just going downhill. They're like 11th in the West.
And Towns hasn't really turned out into be what hasn't taken that second to third year progression that we're used to seeing most players take.
Yeah. I mean, he's still doing what he usually does, but I think one of the problems is Andrew Wiggins.
Agreed.
He's just
Agreed.
a bust.
Agreed.
Like, when do we put the bust card on Andrew Wiggins?
I
Or has
agree.
it already been on him?
I agree because of what you're saying is when Andrew Wiggins came into the NBA, people were saying this guy could be the next LeBron,
Mhm.
and he obviously has not lived up to that.
Absolutely
So therefore,
not.
I agree. Yeah, like when is the bust tag gonna be? And I don't think even just watching him play, there's times where I look at him and I just don't think he's exerting full effort. To be honest, like
Yeah.
I don't think it doesn't look like he cares as much.
Fair enough.
My most disappointing team this season so far has been the Washington Wizards. And
Yeah.
I've been on record multiple times stating my delusion with the Wizards. I don't like them, and I just think their entire situation is a dumpster fire that's only going to get worse. And let me tell you why. John Wall is supposed to be the superstar of this franchise, and he's a 6-foot point guard who's nearing the end of his prime, who bases his game off of athleticism,
Yeah.
was out for the season with an injury, and recently fell in his house and tore his Achilles, which is setting his injury back another 12 months. That is
and a torn Achilles.
Yeah.
It's a torn Achilles.
That- yeah.
Kobe couldn't come back
Right,
from that.
right. And his game is based off athleticism. It's not like John Wall has a Steph Curry jump shot.
Mhm.
Like, not at all. So, and not to mention the fact that he last offseason just signed a supermax contract paying him north of $44 million for the next 4 years after this season, coming off this injury. Just a brutal contract to have on your books. That's over a third of what Washington's payroll moving forward.
That's highway robbery,
Highway
ladies and
robbery.
gentlemen. Highway robbery.
Congrats to John Wall for getting the bag.
Yes.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Shout out.
But if I was the Wizards, another thing I don't understand about the Wizards, why would you trade? Okay, so John Wall, we know at the start of the season when things were going well when they made that trade for Trevor Ariza to get. Why would you trade your only young valuable asset in Oubre for a 1-year rental in Trevor Ariza when you're trying to tank now? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand what the logic behind that is. And now your best option, I would say, if you're the Wizards, is to try to trade Beal because he's your only player that has real value, and try to get a young player that you can build some sort of future around. And then if you can eventually move off of John Wall's contract, I would do whatever it takes to get off that contract if I was the Wizards moving forward.
You're just saying just full on tank mode. Just can't get out of it.
Well, right now
they can't add a piece.
They have
or
to be.
anything
They've been one of the most disappointing teams in the league so far. It's 2/3 way through the season. They're sitting at what I think 11th in the East right now. Like, that's just, you're not making the playoffs, and that's just disappointing for the amount of talent that they had or at least what I thought they had at the start of the season, which is why they are my most disappointing team this season. All right, we're going to jump to our second question here. And this is something that's really clouded the NBA for the past couple weeks, even really clouded Super Bowl week, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Anthony Davis trade request. What are your thoughts on that, Hayden? And then if you were the Pelicans, what would you have done in that situation? And then what do you think led to him requesting that trade, and why would he do that now?
Well, I like you bringing up it clouding the Super Bowl.
It did.
The Super Bowl weekend with just a very boring Super Bowl, basically, like that.
Mm-hmm.
There needed to be a big headline, and it definitely delivered there.
Yeah.
I really think Dell Demps thought that he could get the trade at the end of the season, and he really just wanted to fuck over the Lakers just for the rest of this. Maybe they want to make the playoffs or something, that he thought. But then I'm thinking maybe the Pelicans upper management saw what was on the trade, basically the Lakers' whole young core.
Right.
And then that's why they later fired him here.
Right. I agree. I think the Pelicans failed miserably. I understand what you're saying about Dale Demps doing that, but moral victories in the NBA don't get you anything. And especially when you play or your team is located in a NFL-centric market like New Orleans,
Fair enough.
You need to make some sort of a trade here that is going to give your team relevance moving forward. That's the goal. Because if you let Anthony Davis walk out of New Orleans, they are right now, and then you don't get anything back, they're literally left with nothing. Like, that franchise is an absolute joke. Dale Demps is even gone now. He just got fired this week. He's done.
Do you think this should lead New Orleans disappearing and Supersonics coming back?
I think that's a relatively important note because that could happen in the near future. And remember, people were saying Sacramento, but now Sacramento looks good.
Yeah.
They're starting to look like they're on the come up. And what I don't understand about the Pelicans. Okay, so the final offer, what I've heard, the final offer from the Pelicans or from the Lakers to the Pelicans included Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Zubac, 4 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and they were willing to take on Solomon Hill's terrible contract.
I mean,
why the hell would you not accept that trade if you're Dale Demps?
I bet Magic even threw a handy in there as well or something.
He probably put himself in there. He said, fuck it, I'll trade myself. But I just don't understand. You have an opportunity to get a guy in Kyle Kuzma who, in my eyes, has immersed himself as one of the best, or emerged himself as one of the best young players in the NBA. Lonzo Ball, who, if at anything, is going to bring fill seats in New Orleans.
That's true.
At anything. And then Brandon Ingram, who is still 20 years old, 21 years old. It's not. It's definitely too early to give up on him. He's averaging 17 points a game right now, playing aside LeBron.
To piggyback on the Brandon Ingram, he has been kind of disappointing from what he was.
Has been.
He was coming out at Duke like a new Kevin Durant.
He is still averaging 17 points a game as a 21-year-old.
No, I know. I'm not putting the done chain on him yet. Right.
Because another thing with the Pelicans, they have nowhere to look here. They seem kind of disappointed. Well, obviously they're disappointed with Davis requesting a trade, but there seemed to be a lot of tension with it due to the timing of it. With Davis still having another year on his contract, and it just seems like LeBron's kind of running this whole thing behind the scenes, trying to force Davis to the Lakers. That's the general public eye in this situation.
Which is it that far off? I mean, is it far off?
I don't think it's far fetched, but at the same time, that leads right into my point. The Pelicans have nowhere to look but in the mirror. Okay, they have literally failed every single draft selection they've made in the past 6 seasons, besides Anthony Davis. They have signed. They have signed. Yeah, and Drew Holiday. We'll give him props where it's due. But they have signed Amir Ashik, guys like Solomon Hill, to terrible long-term contracts when there wasn't even a market for either of those players.
The only good thing they did to try to keep Anthony Davis was trading for DeMarcus Cousins, and then they couldn't even get him to stay.
Right into my last point, DeMarcus Cousins, they have nothing to show for that. So they give up Buddy Hield, and then Buddy Hield now, look what Buddy Hield's doing. He's exactly what the Pelicans need right now, a shooter on the wing. That's exactly what they need. Yeah. And now they have nothing to show for that trade. I think the Pelicans failed miserably. I think they've lost credibility in the league, and I think if you mess with LeBron and Magic Johnson too much, it's going to come back to bite you.
Do you think they should lose their privileges as a franchise? I'm really sure the city of Seattle would very much like an NBA team.
They have been very disappointing. Yeah, Seattle deserves an NBA team, in my opinion. What did they do to not deserve an NBA team? If they would have kept their NBA team there when they drafted Kevin Durant, who knows what they would have been now.
That's true.
Let's jump into our next topic here. Do you think Luke Walton deserves to be fired? And then what is the plan, or what does the path for the Lakers to get to the playoffs look like in your eyes?
Does he deserve to be fired? I have no clue. I don't know what the locker room looks like.
Right.
But is he going to get fired? Yes. He just needs to be gone already. Because when it comes out that they're fighting or they're close to an altercation in the locker room, then it's just not good.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, LeBron should look to get Tyronn Lue back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
He's LeBron's guy. I mean, maybe just LeBron wants his guy there.
Right. I think, okay, I understand everything you're saying, but let me play devil's advocate here and tell you why Luke Walton shouldn't be fired, okay?
All right.
The Lakers were, once upon a time, feels like a decade ago, just months ago, 4th seed in the East, looking great.
West.
West. Fourth seed in the West, looking great at the start of the season, and had just defeated the Warriors on Christmas Day without LeBron in the second half.
That's
Do
true.
you remember that day?
I recall this.
What were people saying about Luke Walton then? Oh, he's got the magic formula. He knows how to beat the Warriors. Look, they did it without LeBron. They did it without LeBron in the second half. They came out. Remember, that was the game Rondo had, what was it, 15 and 10? Something like that. Just dominated the second half.
Rondo can still show up in big-time games.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And that gets me right into my point. I don't believe Luke Walton should be fired because I don't believe there's enough evidence on the table for him to be fired. The Lakers were fourth before LeBron missed 18 games in a row, which is something where they weren't expecting. And at the same time, Rondo has missed over half the season, who usually you would say when LeBron's out, okay, then Rondo can run the offense. And then what? If Rondo's out, who else would you say is going to run the offense? Lonzo Ball. Oh yeah, he's been injured too. It's not Luke Walton's fault that the younger guys have been hearing for the last 2 weeks that they're going to be traded for Anthony Davis. He's not the one calling Dale Demps. He's not the one leaking that to the public.
That's true.
So the young players showing up uninspired and not playing hard on defense or just not giving it their all, I don't see how we can put that on Luke. And so here's what I would do with Luke Walton. The Lakers are 3 games out of the 8 seed and 4 games out of the 7 seed with 25 games left in the season. And they have the 6th hardest schedule moving for the rest of the league. Here's what Luke Walton should do. He should talk to LeBron. He should say, I need a reinvigorated, reignited LeBron for the last 25 games of the season. I need you to get us to the playoffs, and I need you to either A, bump our young players' trade value, or B, just give them experience in the playoffs moving forward. And if you're the Lakers, if you're an optimistic Lakers fan, you should be looking at this like, if the Lakers can climb to the 7 seed and Denver stays at the 2 seed, oh my God. Come play.
Playoff LeBron comes out?
A playoff LeBron, a playoff Rondo, plus they just picked up Reggie Bullock and Mike Muscala, 2 shooters who can help them.
Kuzma.
They have veterans. They have Kuzma. They have Ingram. They'll have Ball back. That is a dangerous 7 seed.
Dude, you're forgetting about the best player the Lakers have. Make 'em
dance, Lance. Absolutely. But
I mean, Luke, if he had an ounce of his dad's charisma, I don't think we would even be having this discussion either.
Agreed. Should we jump to our next question here?
Yeah, let's do.
What are your thoughts on the new look 76ers after acquiring Tobias Harris?
I love this trade. Not because of the Tobias Harris part, but because of the Tobias Harris and Boban Marjanovic.
Agreed. They have great
They
friendship.
have to stay together.
That was
and
awesome.
No matter the cost. I love it.
Agreed.
And I mean,
from a basketball standpoint, do you love the trade?
Oh yeah. The Sixers really needed that guy that is taking the last second shot, and because I don't think Jimmy Butler or Ben Simmons really is that guy. But I think Tobias Harris is a 3-point shooter.
Right.
And it's all around.
Great 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
I am a huge Tobias Harris fan. I have him on my fantasy team. So actually I was disappointed in a fantasy aspect because he has been putting up 30 and 10s nightly on the Clippers this season. Gets traded to the 76ers. But not only was he doing that on the Clippers, he was one of the most efficient players in the league. He shoots 45% from 3, stretches the floor. Now the Sixers can roll out a lineup in the playoffs of Simmons, Redick, Harris, Embiid, and then Butler.
Mm.
Simmons, Butler, Redick, Embiid, and Harris. That is the best starting 5 in the Eastern Conference, if you ask
Easily.
me. If you ask me.
How do you think it would stack up against Golden State's starting 5? Say if that's a finals matchup.
I think their starting 5 matches up nice, and I think even in the 4-5 battle, they win that battle against Golden State. But I think the depth, Philly still lacks depth, in my opinion, and they gave up more of their depth to get Tobias Harris. As much as I like Tobias Harris, their starting 5 wasn't the problem at the start of the season. It was their bench. And so we're looking at the Sixers now. But I do like the trade they make with Orlando to get rid of Fultz. I think that whole situation was just kind of a cloud they didn't need over their head. And they were able to add a little bit of bench depth with that trade too.
Yeah, that was a good trade for them. They needed to get rid of the Fultz.
Agreed.
Fultz curse.
And in Fultz's favor, I think Orlando could be a good fit for him long term once he gets healthy too.
Once he figures out how to shoot again.
Agreed. Into our next question here. Do you think Oklahoma City can be a legitimate threat to Golden State in the playoffs? And if they are, who do you think will lead them there? Russell Westbrook or Paul George?
If anybody's leading them, it's Paul George. I mean, Westbrook has just not been the same player this season. Just not making shots, really.
Agreed.
Hot take, I think it might be his newborn kid. He's keeping him up at night. He's learning to become a dad.
Not spending enough time in the gym shooting.
Mm-hmm. Get a nanny, Westbrook.
Get a nanny, yeah. I would say the only way that Oklahoma City could legitimately threat Golden State is exactly what you said. If Russell Westbrook was able to find his MVP caliber shooting numbers, I mean, I consider myself a Russell Westbrook fan, but I do not know how you can defend this guy averaging all they want to say is that he averages a triple double, and that's phenomenal. But I'm sorry, grabbing 2 extra rebounds a game, but shooting 42% from the field, 62% from the line, and 26% from 3 does not make you better than Steph Curry. It doesn't make you better than Kyrie Irving. It doesn't even make you better than Damian Lillard. So
it's a tough scene.
It is a tough scene. And I would agree with you. Paul George is the best player in the Thunder by far. Let's just get that straight. Yes. The best player in the Oklahoma City Thunder is Paul George. That's period, point blank. And I do think if there's a method to the Thunder's success, it's through their defense. They have the 4th best defensive rating in the league, and if there's one area that Westbrook's still as effective as he was earlier in his career, if not more effective, it's defensively.
Dude, OKC has a great defensive lineup with Terrence Ferguson.
Yeah. And when they get
PG's two-way.
When they get Roberson back, Steven Adams, underrated defender. Nerlens Noel.
Steven Adams, underrated all around.
Noel and Schroeder, I thought at the beginning of the season were great pickups for them. Both are having the best season of their career off the bench.
Yeah. I love them having Schroeder.
I agree.
That's
Schroeder.
like
he's a starting level caliber point guard.
Yeah, that's kind of like a Lou Williams coming to happen. I think he's definitely not a starting point guard in the league, but he is a 6-man, easily.
He's a spark plug. Yeah, off the bench for sure. Do you think James Harden is the runaway MVP right now?
Man, I like Harden just for one reason, and that's he's averaging 36 a night. I mean, that's crazy, but Giannis with the 27-5, 12, 1 block, 1 steal a game. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough decision, really. I think it's going to end up being Giannis because how it's just been Westbrook, Harden, Giannis. They're trying to get new guys.
It does almost feel like there's voters fatigue with James Harden already, even though he only has 1 MVP. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, there's obvious voters fatigue for LeBron. He should have like 7 or 8 MVPs in my opinion. But I would agree on that point. I don't think it's a runaway because I also think it's a lock between him and Giannis right now. If you look at it in James Harden's side, he is having undoubtedly one of the best offensive stretches in the history of basketball. That is completely correct. He has now scored 30 or more points in 32 straight games, which is just unbelievable.
It's the best offensive dominance we've seen since Wilt.
Since Wilt, I agree. He is averaging a
crazy
remarkable 37, 8, and 7 on the year. So he's still getting his 8 rebounds, 7 assists a night. And he's led the Rockets to the 5th seed in the West without Chris Paul for pretty much the entire season. On Giannis' side, you give again the 27, 13, and 6, and the defensive versatility. He's obviously a better defender than Harden. But the main point, in case closed for Harden or for Giannis, is that the Bucks are the best team in the NBA record-wise right now. And if you were to take him off that, they'd be scraping to make the playoffs in the East.
Yeah.
Let's jump to our next question, then let's jump over to the East Coast. This Boston situation seems to be kind of weird without Kyrie Irving or with Kyrie Irving. We know Danny Ainge came out and said that the engagement with Kyrie Irving is still on as of now, which seemed kind of weird that wording was used that way. And Kyrie Irving was asked about his impending free agency, and he said something along the lines of "Ask me July 1st," and I don't want to talk about it, basically. which leaves some questions to be left in the air. So the question is Boston a better team without Kyrie Irving? And what is your gut feeling on his impending free agency?
I don't think they are a better team without Kyrie Irving. No team is a better team without Kyrie Irving if you would have had them. I think what also is coming up with this is the AD talks. AD is saying the Celtics are now on his list.
Right.
Kyrie,
That's news as of today.
I think Kyrie's saying the ask me July 1st is really saying you better see how these playoffs go for me, and that's going to affect my decision.
Right.
Basically. If they get knocked out in second round of Philly or the Toronto or some shit like that, it's either Knicks or Lakers, I really think.
Agreed. I completely agree with your point. They're not better without Kyrie Irving. Let's get that straight. I do understand the narrative, though. The Celtics are 9-2 without Irving this season, and they were one game away from the NBA Finals last season without him. So there's really there's no room for improvement on last season unless the Celtics make the finals this year, hence putting a fuck ton of pressure on Kyrie Irving and others. And in my opinion, that pressure is what kind of causing this tension between the locker room with the Celtics right now. And the other point is Brad Stevens is someone we all acknowledge as one of the best coaches in the NBA. But Brad Stevens' best talent is perhaps his ability to maximize lower talent or mid-level players.
Marcus Smart,
Isaiah Thomas, guys like that, and give them career years in his system. Guys that you maybe wouldn't look at as all-stars, but play under Stevens and become all-stars.
Mm-hmm.
But with a maximized talent roster like this, they're sitting fourth in the East, so it makes you question, is his system better for players that aren't of high ego like Kyrie Irving?
Yeah. Yeah, Kyrie's ego probably does play a factor in there.
And then my feeling with Kyrie in the offseason, everybody that listens to this podcast knows I'm a diehard Knicks fan since I came out of the womb. So my prediction for this offseason is Kyrie's going to come home to the New York Knicks and join the franchise.
I know it's very likely for Kevin Durant and Kyrie to go to the Knicks, and everybody knows they're tanking to get Zion. I can just see the Knicks upper management just fucking this all up somehow. So that's all I see.
Would not fail to surprise me.
Yes. They've done it before.
Agreed. And then our next question here is, the Raptors made a move to acquire Marc Gasol at the deadline. Mm-hmm. Didn't give up any important pieces per se right now.
Just some bench depth.
Do you think the Raptors are the favorite in the East after acquiring Gasol? And then will this affect Kawhi's impending free agency?
I don't think they're the favorite in the East. I believe they're second. I think Philly's in front of them right now. Mm-hmm. And it really just matters what we're going to see in the playoffs, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. And I guess Kawhi, he bought the house in San Diego. He's obviously from Southern California. Either he's making the best of the situation he's got there because he had no other option, or he's just going to stay there.
Agreed. They aren't my favorite right now because of, like you said, the Sixers are my favorite as well. But I do think this can't be underlooked, this Marc Gasol accusation, because he's a player who we've seen make deep runs in the playoffs, and we know that his game is reliable in the playoffs. Like, there's some players in the regular season that you're like, okay, we don't know if this is going to be sustainable in the playoffs. No one doubts Marc Gasol can get you 15 and 10 in a playoff game. At least I don't. Mm-hmm. With his experience, his versatility, and he's still a good defender at his size. He won a Defensive Player of the Year. People forget that. And he's 34. He's getting up there in age, but he's still an effective 7-footer. And I think anytime you have Gasol on your team, you're in better shape than you were before, in my opinion.
That's true.
Smart players that know what they're doing and know how to win.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we move from some of the top teams in the NBA, we're gonna take a jump down to some of the bottom teams in the NBA. Who are the teams that you think are tanking the hardest? And then right along the tank race, where do you think Zion would fit best out of all the teams that are tanking?
Don't even look at me and ask, who do you think's taking the hardest? The New York Knicks are tanking the hardest, okay? It's without question. They're dying to have Zion. I mean, and I think, yeah, best fits right there. Big market. He's going to be a big market guy. He's going to sign a $90 million shoe contract once he leaves Duke and gets drafted.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
We haven't seen a guy like this since LeBron, really. That come out of basically high school with how well known he was.
Right. I agree. The Knicks are obviously tanking as hard as anybody else in the league. They've lost 18 straight games, and then we actually just got a win this past week. The Bulls and the Suns are also involved in some serious tanking right now, I would say, and but the lottery odds have changed, which is something to note this year. The bottom three teams, whoever lands the bottom three teams with the worst record, all have the same odds to land the number one pick. I think Zion would be a great fit for whatever team lands him, obviously. But like you said, he is a big market guy. He's a guy that's going to attract fans to the seats, and he's a guy that has all the makings to be a superstar in this league. And you just don't want to see his career wasted on a team that sits in dysfunction.
Wait, can I fit something in here?
Yeah.
Hot take. Do you see another Patrick Ewing New York Knicks lottery incident? Where there's maybe a little foul play involved with the balls
where
or
they,
something.
Well, back in the old day for Patrick Ewing, they chipped the corner.
Yeah,
there used to be a piece of paper that they put in there. It was a folder, and they chipped the corner. I don't think that'll happen this time around. However, I do think there's a thing called the basketball gods, and I think eventually, after getting screwed over after so many years, that my Knicks are due for a couple lottery balls to fall in our favor and just for once land us the number one overall pick.
It can happen.
It can happen. It can happen. Hopefully it will happen. So that moves to our next off-season question for next year. What free agent in the 2019 class do you think would fit best with LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers?
I like Klay Thompson. I mean, Klay Thompson can go to any team and be good, obviously. And then I also like Kyrie to the Lakers. I mean, that's just classic LeBron and Kyrie.
Right. We know what that team can do. They can beat a 73-win Warriors team.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I don't think Kevin Durant's. So if you look at the top free agents, you got Kawhi, KD, Jimmy Butler, Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker. Those are the top ones.
Yeah.
I don't think KD is coming to the Lakers because I think he thinks he's better than LeBron. And I think he thinks he has an opportunity to make a legacy greater than LeBron's somewhere else. And I don't think Kawhi is going to the Lakers either, but I do think he's coming to LA, and I think he's going to the Clippers to join Jerry West and Doc Rivers.
Kawhi?
Yes, Kawhi Leonard will be a Clipper next season.
Ooh.
That is my prediction on this podcast right now. You heard it here first in February.
Put it in the books.
Kawhi Leonard will be a Clipper in July.
Lock that down.
Kyrie Irving, I don't believe will be a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. I've heard on other shows, and I've heard from other people that him reconciling with LeBron has nothing to do with him wanting to play with LeBron again, but rather is just him showing his respect and just making up for what he felt he did wrong when he was younger. Kemba, I don't think a guy like Kemba is what LA is looking for, and I don't think a guy like Jimmy Butler is a guy what LA is looking for. But I think if you could get a guy like Klay Thompson in LA and then trade your young pieces for Anthony Davis, you're looking pretty good because not only have you taken Klay off the Warriors, they might have already lost Kevin Durant too, so they're not looking as strong. And then you get Anthony Davis to round out your big three, and that's looking like a championship team next year in my eyes. Moving forward, then who do you think was the biggest All-Star snub from each conference? Biggest All-Star snub from each conference.
In the West. Yeah, in the West, I have Luka. I think is an all-star sub, even though he is a rookie. And I don't really...
Mine from the West would be my biggest All-Star stuff from the West would be Rudy Gobert because he's top 5 in blocks, field goal percentage, and rebounds, and I think he is the best player in the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell's regressed a little bit in the second season, hasn't necessarily evolved like he did in his first season in the NBA, and Gobert was All NBA last year, and I haven't seen his game fall off at all. And somehow he's not an All-Star this year. So to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then out of the Eastern Conference, I would say mine's Jimmy Butler. I mean, he's a max contract player. The numbers speak for themselves, but just his overall impact on both ends of the floor, he deserves to be an All-Star in my eyes.
I see that.
Yeah. And then our final All-Star question would be Team Giannis or Team LeBron tomorrow night, and why?
Oh, man. I got Team LeBron. I mean, he's got KD. He's got Clay. Basically, LeBron picked everybody who was going to be a free agent next year.
He did. Four of his first 5 picks were all of his starters besides Kemba.
And honestly, those were just the best players in the league. Also, Giannis picked Chris Middleton first for his bench because they're teammates.
Right.
When Chris Middleton should
when
be
Anthony
going
Davis
first and
was
all that
available
pool.
too.
Yeah.
That was it. And then Giannis traded Ben Simmons for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, LeBron asked for the trade, though.
Yeah, clutch sports ties.
Yeah, I'm sure he had to do that.
I agree. I have Team LeBron winning this game just because if you look at a lineup in my eyes of Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and is there big? They have a big on there too. Who's his 5th player?
For LeBron?
Yeah. Is it Embiid? No, Embiid's on Giannis.
Embiid's on Giannis. Who would it be?
He doesn't have Kemba. Kemba's on Giannis' team too. 1 second, podcast. We look at the All-Star rosters here.
Okay. Well, while you're looking that up, I will bring up one thing that Dabo fucking Sweeney said. Dabo says Zion could play quarterback for Clemson.
That's unbelievable.
Again, Dabo, just shut up, drink your juice.
Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot. The guy that's averaging 37 points a game on LeBron's team. So LeBron has Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, LeBron, and Kawhi.
He's got shooters.
That is an unbeatable team in my eyes. It doesn't matter who you acquire on the other team. That team's not being beat. So I have
look
LeBron.
At the reserves
Team LeBron
too.
winning. Team LeBron.
It's all 3-point.
Yeah, all the reserves is just LeBron is simply going to be a great general manager someday or owner.
He's going to be an owner.
Yeah.
He said he wants to be that.
Okay, and our final question on the pod today. I'm a Knicks fan, so I had to include this. Where will Kevin Durant be playing next season?
If Clay goes to the Lakers, I see KD staying in Golden State. Maybe signs just another 1-year contract or something. Just does it again.
Playing the new arena.
But sadly, the Knicks look like the biggest choice right now.
Okay, folks. Everybody, when the Knicks made the trade to trade Porzingis for 2 max slots, all I heard all day long was people calling me saying, "Wow, just must be shitty to be another day in the life of a Knicks fan." But what people don't understand is Scott Perry, our general manager, drafted Kevin Durant in Seattle. They have a great relationship. DeAndre Jordan, who we acquired in the trade for Porzingis, is best friends with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has moved all of his business ventures to New York in the past 2 weeks and is setting up all shop on the East Coast. The Knicks are doing exactly what the Lakers did to get LeBron to come there last season. And Kevin Durant is leaving the same trail of hints that LeBron left last season that people wanted to glance over, wanted to say it wasn't enough, but the Knicks are doing the same exact thing now. And the Knicks offer Kevin Durant the one thing that no other franchise offers, his own franchise. If he came to the Knicks and won the Knicks a title, his legacy is on pace with LeBron's, if not ahead of LeBron's.
He becomes the face of the Knicks.
He becomes the face of the Knicks. He becomes the face of the league. He becomes the face of the biggest fan base in the world, and he has 4 million diehard fans on his side, the biggest fan base in the world. And this offseason, if he signs, he can go say, okay, do I want to trade Zion if we do get Zion? Do I want to trade him for Anthony Davis? Because that could be in play.
Mm-hmm.
And then do I want to go sign Kyrie Irving too? He can choose another max free agent to sign to the Knicks this offseason. So the Knicks offer him something in my eyes that no other team can offer him. His own franchise in the biggest market with flexibility going forward. We have cap flexibility going forward. We have picks going forward. And you're in the Mecca. You're in the Garden. You have all your business ventures there. Kevin Durant to the Knicks July 1st.
Just got goosebumps, man.
Just got goosebumps. You heard it on the podcast, on the Hilltop Buckets podcast. Well, folks.
Whoa. I got picks.
Yeah, we do have picks.
We got picks. All right, guys. Picks. This is Saturday, February 16th, 2019.
You want to make some money? Listen in right now.
All right. I got Team LeBron -6 for tomorrow's Sunday All-Star game. I got Kentucky money line tonight against Tennessee. It's at Kentucky. I mean, Coach Cal's got his son, Brad Swagger-Perry, on the bench. He's got a chain. He's got that drip. Take Kentucky money line. Get that money. DePaul +6.5 at Butler. Fuck Butler. Butler has bent me over all season long.
Unreliable.
Fuck Butler. The Skurs, the Huskers, finally broke the 7-game losing streak. I see them. It's at home against Northwestern. Take the money line. Don't trust the spread. Oregon +1.5 at Oregon State. They got the electric green jerseys, man. That's all I got to say about it. Hawaii -10.5 versus Cal Riverside. It's in Hawaii. They're jet lagged. They spent too much time on the beach. Maybe they had a couple mojitos.
Absolutely.
The Hawaiians are ready to play. The Haka, they got it done.
Absolutely. And folks, that was another edition of today's top picks by my co-host Hayden Fowler. And ladies and gentlemen, we just wanted to say thank you for everybody who's tuned into the podcast so far. We're really looking forward to getting this thing going in the future. And I can't wait to continue to keep you guys updated on the NBA season. It's going to be very exciting moving forward, and even moving into next season is going to be even better in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, that's all we got for today. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Hilltop Buckets podcast.
Much love.